This presentation is on Edgar Allan Poe, who lived from 1809 to 1849, and his poems, The Raven and Annabel Lee. Who is Edgar Allan Poe? Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston, the son of traveling actors. Before he was 3, his father deserted the family and his mother died. Poe was reluctantly adopted, though not legally, by John Allan because his wife wanted him to, as she felt sorry for the orphan boy and had admired his mother, who was a talented actress who died of consumption. Poe had a tumultuous relationship with John Allan, who fluctuated between being too lenient and too strict. Poe had drinking, drug, and alcohol addictions, which caused him problems throughout his adult life. Though brilliant, he flunked out of the University of Virginia and ended up leaving soon after, starting to join the U.S. Army to pay off gambling debt. He ended up leaving the Army and then went to West Point, where he was dismissed for purposely violating a series of Army regulations, cutting classes, and disobeying orders to attend church. After publishing 3 books of poetry, he was able to get hired as editor of several literary magazines, where he published many of his short stories, but kept losing his jobs due to inappropriate behavior due to his addictions. He wrote one novel called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. The 3 closest women in his life, his mother, his adopted mother, and his young cousin and wife, Virginia Clem, whom he married when she was only 13, were all beautiful and died of consumption. This seems to have influenced his creation of many of the young, beautiful female characters in his poetry and short stories, who all die and cause the male narrator to mourn their loss. After Poe's wife died, he stopped drinking and became engaged to his childhood sweetheart, and was on the way to Philadelphia for one of the most promising editing positions in his life, but he was tricked into drinking alcohol by some corrupt political henchmen who got him drunk and had him vote several times for a particular candidate, and he was found drunk and unconscious in the gutter and died in a hospital 4 days later. Poe's writing style. The series of tragic disasters in Poe's personal life have a definite impact on the dark and perverse style of his writing. In addition to losing both parents at a young age, Poe's addictions caused him to lose jobs frequently and experience overwhelming periods of poverty, and he was often subjected to harsh literary criticism and even became the victim of untrue biographies designed to stain his personal reputation by an editor and anthologizer he had mistaken as his friend, named Rufus Griswold. Poe suffered from depression, probably stemming from his addictions, and even tried to commit suicide unsuccessfully. Both Ralph Waldo Emerson and Mark Twain were critical of Poe's writing, and Poe himself was nicknamed the Tomahawk Man due to his own harsh criticism of other writers. Despite the sometimes negative criticism of his work, Poe has remained as one of the most popular American writers, known for his haunting tales of horror and beautiful poetry inspired by disorder, perversity, and romantic emotion. Poe is given credit as the inventor of the detective story and is one of the first modern American literary critics. His famous essay, The Philosophy of Composition, says that a story should be short enough to be read in one sitting, and every detail should contribute to a single unified effect. Unlike most writers of his time, Poe felt literature should not need to be didactic or teaching a moral, but rather should be entertaining and should create beauty and intensity of emotion. The Raven. This poem has the typical dark and dreary mood of almost all of Poe's work, and in it the narrator is alone in what appears to be a library when he hears an ominous knocking upon his door. However, when he opens the door, no one is there but a black raven perched upon the bust of Pallas Athena, or the Greek goddess of wisdom. This is an ironic allusion, since the bird offers no wisdom or insight to the narrator. It just keeps repeating the word nevermore to whatever question the narrator asks it. The narrator, who is mourning the loss of his beautiful young lover Lenore, thinks the raven is a supernatural being that can answer his questions about his lover he yearns for, but the bird just keeps repeating nevermore, which torments the narrator, who desires some connection to his lost love. The poem is intensely emotional, and the mood is dark and eerie. The poem has a very sophisticated hypnotic rhyme scheme and meter, using internal rhyme or rhyming a word in the middle of the sentence with the last word in the line. It also repeats the sound or, as in lore, door, more, floor, Lenore, and nevermore. This creates a very foreboding sound, contributing to the dark mood. The narrator becomes increasingly emotional and seems to be driven crazy as the poem progresses, and he asks more and more questions about his lost lover, only to be mocked by the raven, who simply repeats nevermore, making the narrator feel he will never again see or connect with his long-lost love. Annabel Lee. This poem is the last poem Poe wrote. It was not published until 2 days after his death, and it was written 2 years after the death of his young wife and cousin, Virginia Clem, whom he married when she was just 13, but with whom he had a very happy, loving marriage, and is most likely the woman who is the inspiration for the poem. The theme of the death of a beautiful woman is common in Poe's work, and is one in which he said was the most poetical topic in the world. The setting of the poem, The Kingdom by the Sea, is fairy tale-like. In the poem, he says he fell in love with Annabel Lee when they were both young, and their love was so intense and ideal that the angels were jealous and sent a chill which killed her. Virginia actually died of consumption. He says in the poem that he dreams of his love every night and sees her eyes in the stars, and that some day they will be together again, and that their love is so strong that not even demons will keep them from each other again. Though it is not technically a ballad, Poe refers to this poem as a ballad and uses the repetition of the words and phrases to create a mournful effect. It is 6 stanzas long, and the rhyme pattern varies slightly with each stanza. Annabel Lee is a very beautiful lyric poem in which Poe expresses his undying and very intense love for a beautiful young woman whom he longs for deeply.